The origins of eloquent and persuasive speech. The precise nature of eloquent and persuasive speech was fiercely debated in antiquity. Is rhetoric an actual art or merely a skill, a knack? Does it require natural ability, or can it be mastered merely through the acquisition of certain techniques and the memorization of a body of rules and precepts? Generally, the ancient theories spoke of a requisite triad: natural ability or inborn talent, mastery of the art of speaking as outlined in rhetorical treatises uh, called artes in Latin, and diligent application of one's talent and training through practice. In his earliest published work, De Inventione, or On Invention, written when he was about 17 years old, Cicero offers an explanation of the origin of eloquence.
Nice.
So we're
I
gonna
guess I'll just read the next page.
we're gonna read something when he was 17 years old. Can you imagine that? But yeah, go ahead.
And if we wish to consider the origin of this thing that is called eloquence, whether it be an art or a study or some sort of skill or a faculty bestowed by nature, we will discover that it was born from most honorable causes and continued its development for the best of reasons. For there was a time when people wandered in the fields far and wide like beasts and preserved their existence relying on uncultivated food. No rational system of religion or of societal obligation was yet practiced. No one had witnessed legitimate marriage, nor had anyone looked upon children whom he knew for certain to be his own, nor had they realized what advantages an equitable code of law might provide. So, because of their own error and ignorance, a blind and reckless passion controlled them, and in order to satisfy itself, continually misused bodily strength, the most dangerous of servants. At this point in time, a man, great and wise to be sure, came to recognize the innate potential and the boundless opportunity for great accomplishments residing in the human spirit, if only someone could draw it out and prove it through instruction. He systematically assembled the people in one place, scattered in the fields and living hidden in their woodland shelters. He brought them together, introducing them to every useful and honorable pursuit.
Um, I guess we'll take things one at a time. So when we get to the end of the point, we'll try to share what we have in mind.
Yeah.
At first, because of the novelty of the thing, they strongly objected. But then, as they began to listen more earnestly, he transformed them through reason and speech from wild savage creatures into tame and gentle people. To me, at least, it does not seem possible that mute wisdom, devoid of speaking ability, was suddenly able to turn people from their accustomed ways and lead them to different models of living. What is more, once cities had been established, how could it have happened that people learned to honor faith and uphold justice, and became accustomed to obeying others willingly, and judged that they must not only take on great tasks for the sake of the common good, but even sacrifice their lives, unless others had been able to persuade them by eloquence of those things that they had discovered by reason? Certainly, no one who was endowed with great physical strength would have willingly and without violence submitted himself to the law, allowing himself to be put on equal footing with those over whom he could excel. Um, I'm having a bit of a kerfuffle with my. Oh, hold on. Let me just do that.
Oh, word.
Over whom he could excel, abandoning voluntarily a most agreeable custom, especially a custom that had, through the course of time, already acquired the force of law and nature. And had he not been moved by speech both powerful and persuasive. Eloquence then seems initially to have originated in this way, and to have advanced to greater development, and likewise subsequently in the most important matters of peace and war, to have been involved with the highest interests of humankind. Um, what do you think of that? His assessment of the development of the human species, essentially.
I don't really know how we could really know how he mentions how there was a single man that turned people from savages into like civilized people. I'm not sure if that's like a metaphor or something because
Could
I
could
mean
be.
that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Hmm. Um, it could just be him speaking, sort of his idea of there had to have been at least one person who started it. Has to have been started with one person. That sort of idea.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, but um, I think humans are maybe a little bit smarter and kinder than Cicero gives credit. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Um, obviously, we have um, our own innate desires, right? We like I've told you before, we're social creatures, so we wouldn't want to do anything that would hurt in each other in a way that would affect us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, I don't believe I don't believe that to a certain extent. Um, I think um, hmm, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but you know what? Actually, Emerada,
Yeah.
we're sitting here, we're talking and things like that, and we're discussing the book. But you know what? We're not writing about the book. And guess what? We're not following the rules. The rules for being a good orator.
Oh, okay.
What? You think I'm gonna ask you to start writing now?
I'm on my phone. I can't really write anything, you know.
I'm not asking you. I'm just commenting on the fact that, you know,
Yeah.
we're reading, we're not writing. Um but yeah, I guess we can I don't know what we can do, but there's certainly more to be said about the development of humankind and the development of eloquence, as
Yeah.
he says it, but um, not sure how to put it exactly. Hmm. I guess we'll get back to it later.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about this exactly? I'm not sure if you've already told me
Oh yeah, I mean, he's probably right. I mean, I wouldn't really know. I wasn't there, but I guess I agree with what he said so far.
about people needing to be persuaded to cooperate, things like that.
But he's just saying in sort of common sense that like someone who's like can exert his will over other people isn't gonna suddenly just choose to be domicile, I guess, you know. But yeah, I don't think it happened suddenly, as he puts it. It probably just happened. Like law and language and that type of stuff developed over a very long period of time. But he makes it
Yeah.
out sort of like it happened all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Um, yeah, that is a good point. Things take time. Um, Certainly not the span of one man's life is probably not enough to change the direction of humankind. Do you think so? Do you think
I
so?
mean, maybe like Einstein or somebody who like made a bomb or some shit. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like butterfly effect type things, you know. I'm sure like one person can probably change humanity, but I just don't think it happens suddenly like that.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Okay, well, it's your turn. Some 30
Word.
years later.
Some 30 years later, Cicero wrote De Orator on his ideal orator, a masterful treatise in which he constructs a portrait of his ideal speaker. The work is composed as a dialogue between several of the leading orators of the generation previous to Cicero. The two main characters of the dialogue are Lucius Crassus and Marcus Antonius, Cicero's boyhood mentors and the greatest orators of Rome at that time. In the following passage, the interlocutor Crassus refers to these same origins of eloquence. He extols the capacity for speech as one of the most powerful and effici- uh, efficacious of all human gifts, and encourages his young prodigies to master the art of eloquence. Uh, word.
The word was efficacious.
Thanks. Efficacious.
Let me actually Google that. Could you do
It
that?
says like it says it means successful in producing a desired or intended result. So basically, just like efficient would be a synonym for that.
How do you pronounce it?
Oh, I don't know. I assume it was the way you pronounced it.
Is there like a
Let's see.
there's usually like a speaker button right next to it, right?
Uh, yeah, efficacious the way you said it.
Okay. Yeah, my keyboard is yeah, it's really messed up.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
I think there's
It's
an on like if you go into the do you have Windows? If you go into the
on-screen
settings, you can bring up yeah.
the on-screen keyboard, but the thing is when I do use the on-screen keyboard, what the problem is, it's very specific. My control key is has malfunctioned, and what happens is that sometimes it crashes itself. So right
If you
now
just unplug the keyboard.
no, it's a laptop.
Oh, maybe if you go into the
Um,
device manager, you could disable it.
yeah, but I have to reset my computer to do that.
Oh, okay.
Which I could actually. I could do that, but I guess it's not in the way of anything, right? We can still do the reading, and I can reset the keyboard after the recall. Um, it's just a little bit of a you know um, inconvenience, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but those were the names that we were reading in the middle there, Crisis and um, oh I am. Well, I guess it is getting in the way of something. I was gonna I was taking notes on the book. I was taking notes um, when we were doing the recording. Do you want to know what some of the questions were?
That you're writing down,
In my
or
notes.
oh, I guess
Uh,
yeah,
are gestures while speaking a learned thing? Remember when you brought that up?
yeah.
No. Right. What are orators in the present day? What is the difficulty of being an orator in this present day? That's the next thing. And that's about it. That's all I wrote. Just those three things. Right. Because the Cicero did talk about the difficulties of becoming an orator, but I wonder how that translates to the present day, right? What does an orator look like in the present day?
Yeah.
Um, Certainly, when people read things like this, they want to apply it in a sort of like metaphorical sense, like you were saying before, like when you were mentioning the one person kind of meant thing.
Uh, yeah.
Um, that's certainly I feel like that's the kind of thing people are most open to do, to apply the message in a metaphorical sense, um, which I appreciate. But I think um, what I'm trying to get out of it, and what the way I see this book as a result, is the historical context by in which Cicero lived, and I want to be able to understand his philosophy so that I have a greater understanding of philosophy as a whole. Um, but like I said, in regards, how do you view the book essentially?
Um, I don't really know. We haven't really read that much of it yet.
Yeah, we haven't. Um, um, but I guess I'm trying to ask, since I am guiding you through the book, I guess I'm sort of forcing my perspective on you, and I want to make sure that I'm not doing that. Um, I want you to be able to have your own experience with the book.
Oh, word.
Yeah, if you're open to it, of course. Um,
Oh, word. Yeah. I mean, I don't really care. Like if you want to like read it a certain way or like interpret it a certain way.
yeah. Um,
But yeah, like we should just read it however you want if you want to do it like that.
um, I will continue reading the book as I read it before. But um, I guess I'm just talking about how I feel, um, and that's about it. I'm not necessarily trying to figure out what we should do from this point on, um, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Hold on a moment. You did finish reading that last part, so it's my turn to read.
Yeah. It
Okay.
should just be yeah.
Actually, I think nothing is more admirable than being able, through speech, to take hold of human minds, to win over their inclination, to drive them at will in one direction, and to draw them at will from another. This it is it is this ability, more than anything else, that has ever flourished, even reigns supreme in every free nation, and especially in quiet and peaceful communities. What could be so wonderful as when out of an infinite crowd, one human being emerges who, alone or with very few others, is able to use with effect the faculty that is a natural gift to all? Or what is so pleasing to the mind and to the ear as speech distinguished and refined by wise thoughts and impressive words? Or what so powerful and so splendid as one man's speech transforming the impulses of the people, their scruples or jurors, the scruples of jurors, or the authority of the Senate. Again, what is so regal, so generous, so magnanimous as lending aid to those in distress, raising up the afflicted, offering people safety, freeing them from dangers, saving them from exile? At the same time, what is so vital as always having the weapons available with which you can shield yourself and challenge the wicked, or take revenge when attacked? But really, let us not always be preoccupied with the forum, with the court benches, the rostra, and the Senate House. If we consider our leisure time, what can be more pleasant or more properly human than to be able to engage in elegant conversation and show oneself a stranger to no subject? Um, yeah, he's kind of just like going off.
Yeah.
Um, there's certainly a lot to dig into. Uh, um, but yeah, let's just keep reading.
Word. For the one thing that most especially sets us above animals is that we converse with one another, and that we can express our thoughts through speech. Who then would not rightly admire this ability, and would not think that he should take the greatest pains in order to surpass other human beings, in the very thing that especially makes humans themselves superior to beasts? But let us now turn to what is surely the most important point of all. What other force could have gathered the scattered members of the human race into one place, or could have led them away from a savage existence in the wilderness to this truly human, communal way of life, or, once communities had been founded, could have established laws, judicial procedures, and civic rights? And to avoid enumerating still more points, they are actually almost numberless. Let me summarize everything in a few words. I assert the leadership and wisdom of the perfect orator provide the chief basis not only for his own dignity, but also for the safety of countless individuals and of the state at large.
So, what was that about?
He's basically just saying speech is a powerful tool and that we pretty much need it to basically everything that we built was through the power of speech, I suppose.
Hmm. Okay. Therefore, um, young men, continue your present efforts and devote all your energies to the pursuit you are following, so that you can bring honor to yourselves, service to your friends, and benefit to the state. De orator. Cicero, while obviously keenly aware and knowledgeable of the rules contained in the typical rhetorical treatises of his day, was highly critical of mere handbook learning. In fact, in De Orator, he routinely criticizes the hackneyed precepts of the handbooks. They perhaps serve a foundational purpose, but the ideal orator must, in addition to knowledge of rhetorical rules, possess a vast knowledge of all the humane arts, including history, literature, law, and philosophy. And they put a C later. Such knowledge, along with natural ability, study, and diligent practice, are essential for winning an argument. So there it is. There's the whole book. I guess we don't need to read anymore. What do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think?
yeah.
Um, but yes, I'll continue on. Um, there exists a kind of observation of what is effective speaking. But if this could make people eloquent, then everyone would be eloquent. For who would not be able to master this easily, or at least in some way or another or other? Go ahead, Marauder.
Yeah, what's up? You want me to keep reading
Um,
on the next line?
yeah, I just finished the line.
Oh, word. I was just wanting to see if you had. I was waiting to see if you had anything to say. I'll just keep reading
I
then.
it wasn't much. It was just that little paragraph.
Yeah.
This kind of observation, for who would not be able to master this. Um,
Um.
I
Oh yeah.
I'm actually losing a bit of I don't know how to say it, but I basically my nose is a little stuffy, I guess. It's the effects of eating the salty food. My nose is a little
Oh,
stuffy. Um, I'm having trouble focusing a little bit. Um,
oh, that's all good.
I'm
You want
I'm
to?
feeling. Uh,
Do you want to keep reading or no? It's okay if you don't
um,
want to.
no, it's yeah. I really wish I. Well, I guess now I know now of what I should and shouldn't do while cooking. Um,
Oh shit. What did you inhale like fumes or something?
no, no. I ate some mushrooms. Um,
Oh shit. Yeah, those one to you, right? Probably like high right now.
really, you think so?
What
Um,
mushrooms did you eat? I don't know.
I ate oyster mushrooms.
Oh, I've never had those. They good or not?
They taste pretty well. The texture is nice, and I like it when I put salt on them and garlic and things like that. Um, they taste all right. Um, uh, but yeah, I guess if it's the mushrooms or the salt, I don't know. But yeah, I do feel a little lightheaded. Um, um, I'm not sure if you can tell from my voice. I guess I pretty much sound the same, right?
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Um. What are we on? Page 8? Page. Yeah, page 8. Um. We're pretty much um almost over, but um, I guess we can stop here where it says rhetoric and truth. I think that'll be a good place to stop, and then we could pick it up next week. And hopefully by then I would have read the introduction. But I think, yeah, I think it's safe to stop here.
Word.
Can you just read the rest of the part where it says, but in my view?
Yeah, yeah. Page 8, right? Wait, hold up.
Yeah,
I
page 8.
closed the thing, wait. But in my view, such rules are powerful and useful, not because art can lead us to discover what to say, but because when we have learned a proper point of reference, rules may assure us of the soundness or make us see the weakness of whatever we accomplish by means of our own natural ability, our study, and our training.
Yeah, that's it. That's the first section. The first section, which is titled Nature, Art, and Practice. Um, but yeah, um, I guess you know what I will do. Um,
What?
as as we get through the book, I will write down my ideas and things like that, and I'll sort of bring them up with you, and I'll work through my ideas by writing them down.
Okay,
I,
word.
I can't really write anything down at the moment. My keyboard is pretty much still messed up, but yeah, I guess that's the end of the recording for now, and we'll pick it up next week.
Word, yeah.
All right. Um, there's a bit of what is it? Stuff in the background, but you can go ahead and read. Go
All
ahead.
right. Rhetoric and Truth. The power wielded by a skillful speaker who knows how to persuade through artful speech and appeal to human emotions is, as outlined earlier, a powerful weapon. It is, in fact, a two-edged sword, one that can be employed for good or for ill. We need only to consider two extraordinarily effective 20th century orators who were embroiled in the same conflict, Winston Churchill and Adolf Hitler, to illustrate this point graphically. In such a context, it is easy to see why the word rhetoric often carries with it today a negative connotation. In ancient Greece, after the creation of a rhetorical system that was based largely on the principle of argumentation founded on probability, teachers of rhetoric emerged who rejected the ideal sphere of pure reason and absolute truth in favor of the probable and relative, who extolled the power of the word, and who sometimes endeavor to make the worse seem the better cause. Philosophers like Socrates
Oh,
and Plato, on the contrary,
I'm
uh,
Roger. Yeah, let me go.
oh my bad.
Philosophers like Socrates and Plato, on the contrary, sir. Okay. On the contrary, searching for final and absolute ends, champion truth uncovered through di- dialectical inquiry. Thus, the so-called quarrel between rhetoric and philosophy emerged, a quarrel that would endure in varying manifestations and in varying levels of intensity, down to Cicero's time. The opening paragraph of Cicero's De Inventione reveals his thoughts on the matter. Um, what was that bit on Churchill and Adolf? That kind of got lost there.
I think you're just giving an example uh, about conflict, I guess. Famous.
Two emerged.
These books always like put the most like pointless like filler. Like this could have been summarized in like 2 sentences. This is what I was thinking earlier when you were reading like before.
It's
Like
supposed
each
to
page could
expand
be
your
said in like
mind.
2 sentences, but they like drag it out for so long.
What's wrong with reading? Sounds like you're
It's just
having a trouble
just a
talking.
waste of time. Like they could
Do you
have
not
easily
have
summarized this.
the stamina to
How
read
would you?
multiple
Okay,
sentences?
okay,
They
hold
think
on.
they're smart for putting all these extra words.
How would you summarize this, Marta?
I would just say that I don't know, man. I would just say that they're like basically take the first sentence, take the example of Adolf Hitler, and then just say that philosophers and orators have conflict, I guess. If I was typing it out, I could probably summarize it better than speaking. It's hard to think of words like speaking, but
Right. Okay. Um. Yeah. I guess um I I would hope you'd be able to summarize it a little better because I'm reading this and I just got lost. To be honest.
yeah, because that's exactly what I'm saying. Like they just put all this
Maybe
like
you don't have
flowery language.
no need to be offensive here, but maybe you don't have enough IQ to really understand it.
Oh
Maybe you
my
gotta
bad.
look at it deeper. Maybe it's something you have to read multiple times to understand.
It is something I
Or
have to
maybe
read
read it
multiple.
or maybe read it like a manga.
um. I. Well. Yeah. I won't expound on it very much, but we'll just move on. Your point is noted, by the way, Amarota. Um, so basically, this talks about conflict between rhetoric and philosophy, and that philosophers are in conflict.
Uh,
Oh,
I'm rereading it actually. I'm rereading
oh my
the.
bad. Good, yeah.
I think I sort of see the point. I think I sort of see why they had to take a long, they had to explain it in a long, wordy way, because it's like basically talking about the ways in which art, or let's say, to use the example, the speaking orator to be, or the the, basically the the art of being an orator, how that is used, that can be used in this or so way, and those who endeavor for truth are the philosophers, and those who, and other people who possibly aren't after truth, or other people who want to twist reality to their benefit, use rhetoric in that sort of way. And the section is called Rhetoric and Truth. So I think it's basically explaining like the dichotomy of um, people who use arts and things like that, or the ability to speak in ways that are detrimental to society or humanity, which is sort of like the opposite point of the arts, or being an orator,
Well,
which
what
is
I was saying was
attributed
sort of like
to philosophy.
compounding from what we were reading before. Remember when he had like 3 pages dedicated to talking about how orators are like not highly respected in society or something?
Yeah,
Remember
that was
that? Like
kind
he
of,
could have
yeah,
easily summarized that in like a 1 page.
maybe he could have done that. Certainly, we can do that, but
Yeah.
um, I, I, um, I think it's sort of best to take them at their word. Obviously, when we're learning from a source, or doing research or things like that, it's best to just incorporate their language, if that makes any sense. Um, Obviously, we can't change it. We can't make it shorter than it actually is. We have to just read it, and that's kind of where we're stuck. Um, um, but yeah, I I I kind of see where you're coming from, but that did actually require me to read it again. Um, but I guess that's how things work, you know. Sometimes people can be wordy or things like that, and obviously, there's always a better way to say something. There's always a better way to do this or that, and um, even when we're dealing with topics of philosophy, or even when we're dealing with the author, we can always do better um, than what has been done. And I think that's the benefit that we get as being a reader, or things like that, or learning, that we can always improve upon what's been done.
Word.
Yeah. I I guess I'll continue reading. Often and much have I pondered the question of whether fluency of speech and consuming devotion to eloquence have brought more good or evil to people and their communities. For when I consider the injuries done to republic, and review in my mind the ancient calamities of our prominent communities, I see that no little part of their misfortune was brought about through the agency of men who were highly skilled in speaking. On the other hand, when I set out on a search in the annals of literature for events that, because of their antiquity, are removed from our generation's memory, I find that many cities have been founded, the flames of many wars have been extinguished, the firmest alliances and the most hallowed friendships have formed not only by the mind's power of reason, but also more easily by eloquence.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Emerauder.
Yeah, I'm just loading the thing. My bad. It's like, you think you could like zoom in a little bit? My bad.
Okay, let me try to zoom in.
Oh, thanks.
Is this good?
Uh, word. And after wait, hold up. And after reflecting on it for a long time, that same power of reason leads me to form this opinion first and foremost. Wisdom without eloquence does too little for the good of communities, but eloquence without wisdom is in most instances extremely harmful and never beneficial. If then anyone exerts all of his energies in the practice of oratory to the neglect of the highest, most honorable pursuits of reason and moral conduct, he is reared as a citizen, useless to himself and harmful to his country. But the person who arms himself with eloquence is in such a way that enables him not to assail the interests of his country, but rather assist them. This man, in my opinion, will be a citizen most helpful and most devoted both to his own interests and those of the public. Hold up just 1 second. Let me just reread that. Word, yeah. Oh yeah, you can scroll back down. My bad.
Okay.
Several decades later, in his De Orator, Cicero will speak in more detail concerning the quarrel, and will strive to effect a reconciliation or a synthesis, combining philosophy not so much with rhetoric, but with eloquence.
Hmm.
My bad. When
Cicero's
I'm like reading out loud, it's like harder to like follow mentally.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Uh, um, yeah, that, um, I
I think your mic cut out. Yeah, homie's mic cut out. My mic. Yo, Alan.
Very, very interesting.
Oh, so where'd he go? What the fuck?
What?
Chum, are you getting any of this?
Getting what?
His book, man.
Yeah.
Shit's whack, bro.
sorry,
I just wish you stop cursing, man.
my
Nah,
audio
man.
program cut off. I couldn't hear you guys.
No.
I actually like this GIF. I'm gonna save it. I like this GIF.
I like it.
Sigma Saturday. Um. Okay. What were you saying? When I cut off. When
Uh, nothing
uh,
important.
But yeah, it. If you ever want to go back, you can always re-listen to the episode or things like that if you want to get a second read. But I will do my best to try to interpret it and help you understand it. So we're reading this book together. So if there's anything you have trouble understanding, you can always ask me.
Oh well, no, it's just that like I just need to reread it after I read it verbally.
Okay. Um, let's continue. Cicero's ideal orator is an oratorical philosopher, or a philosophical orator. Nonetheless, it is clear to anyone familiar with Cicero's oratorical career that on several occasions he defended clients whom he knew to be guilty In fact, a later teaching of his Rhetoric, Quintilian, reports to us that Cicero once boasted that, in his defense, a client named Clentius, he threw dust in the eyes of the jury. Addressing his son near the end of his life, Cicero has something to say about defending guilty clients. It appears that our notion of granting every defendant a fair trial has at least some of its foundations in Cicero's way of thinking. Okay. Cicero was a lawyer, if you remember. And this precept of moral duty must be assiduously. I'm gonna Google that.
Probably just means like keenly or like
Showing great care and perseverance, assiduous. Hold on. And this precept of moral duty must be assiduously maintained. Never lodge in court a capital charge against an innocent person Indeed, there is no way this can be done without making oneself a criminal. For what is more inhuman than to turn one's eloquence, a gift bestowed by nature, for the safety and preservation of our fellow humans, to the destruction and ruin of good people? Nevertheless, while this practice must be avoided, we need not be overly scrupulous about defending a guilty person, provided he is not abominably wicked. People want this. Custom sanctions it. I guess I'll just read the rest. Humanity accepts it. In court cases, it is always the duty of the juror to pursue the truth. It is sometimes the duty of the advocate to defend what is similar to the truth, even if it be less than the truth. And he's yeah. I guess that's it. Sort of talking about the ways in which being an orator can be used for good or for bad, and then thinking about how being an orator in reference to being a philosopher and seeking truth and whatnot. Yeah. I guess that kind of information would be put in the further reading section. Not sure what to tie it to. Maybe I can have a look through it, and maybe if I see anything in the further reading section, I'll put it into the description of this video. But that's the end of the reading and the end of the recording, Emerardo. We did make it through. So what?
All right, word.
What? Do you have any closing thoughts before I end the video and end the recording?
Yeah, not really.
Okay. Well, certainly a lot to think about, but I guess I'll try to keep it in mind as we read the book. Sort of Cicero's idea of using, well, not necessarily Cicero's idea exactly, but Cicero's idea of being an orator in reference to being a philosopher. That's sort of the interpretation that the book is leading us to. But I'll try to keep that in mind. But that's the end of the recording. You know what we say at the end of the episodes of the book club, Emerardo?
Amen.
No, we
know.
don't say amen. Not yet, at
God
least.
bless America.
God
Not-
bless America.
Except
Not-
for the
Hey,
Republicans.
Blue Lives Matter.
No, they don't. They don't. Biden 2024.
We say read more books. That's what we say.
Read more books.
Bring back Fred.
Bring
Oh,
back Fred.
Yeah, maybe we should say bring back Fred.
Yeah.
Hashtag bring back Fred.
Yeah.
Um, in the future, I was thinking about reading religious texts. Obviously, the Chum
The
did
Quran.
recommend. Yeah, Chum did recommend we read the Quran.
I love that book.
Yeah.
I love the
I ain't
Quran,
even a
man.
Muslim.
Maybe.
It's such a good read.
Maybe I can read the
I've
Quran.
read it 15 times. I read it like a manga one.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
Chum.
man.
That's enough out of you, Chum. I'm gonna end the recording.
Hey. Oh, okay. Goodbye. Good night. Good morning. Bye.
Yeah.